very me, but they're also very Samoan.
I still have that idea of keeping the art alive. I don't know how much longer I will live, but that's my ambition, to teach as many people as possible to carry on the art from me, from our generation. I've talked to my kids that whoever wants to pick up the trade is there.
Petelo's son, Peter, is now continuing his uncle Paulo's work and doing traditional Tatau in South Auckland. Peter, the long-time apprentice of his father Petelo, is now one of the few practicing traditional tattooists outside of Samoa, specialising in his own contemporary patterns as well as traditional designs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do my own stuff, The designs are the Samoan designs. Every tattooist in Samoa has used all those designs, but to me, I was trying to just put my own ideas into it, just trying to figure it out. What is good for this, what is good for that.
He has created some fantastic contemporary art here with traditional tools, and I know that he's doing it because people wanted that, that sort of art. We didn't have that sort of art before. We only knew of the traditional pe'a and traditional malu, but nowadays people have come in with fancy ideas of having their arms and legs done, We can't stop it.
Seems to be a big craze over here in Aotearoa for writing names. And I'm getting a lot of people wanting names. I just won't do it. I just won't write. I will do roses and I will do eagles, but not on a Polynesian. If he's got nothing on him, no way am I going to put an eagle or a rose on him. If we want to discover our Polynesian roots, we had designs, and designs that would mean more than writing. I feel I want to re-educate people on what Tatau is all about.
Sometimes I look into old books and just take out shapes of, for example, like canoes that they used to travel on back then, and I'll use that shape to develop my designs. Not to do the design in its original, original form, but to change it into sort of modify the designs.
Tapu Tapu Atea Marae on the Tahitian island of Raiatea was home to a Pan-Pacific Tatau festival in 2001, looking at the resurgence of this ancient art form that has sometimes taken new shapes and meanings in these islands. Now these age-old symbols, once suppressed, are a source of national pride and also a drawcard for tourism. I'll be your almond joy, you'll be my sugar daddy. The big focus for the festival is the revival of Tatau in those parts of the Pacific where the art form has been neglected.
But we had to go to Samoa because they were the only ones using the real needles. And the tattooers who came here, Les Aliu, who he dedicated to, was from Siumo. He's the one that tattooed the Tahitian people twice and got it started.
In looking at the resurgence of Pacific Tatau, it seems the biggest credit has to go to a tufunga who is sadly no longer a part of the Tatau community. Su'a Suluape Paulo's untimely death in 1999 left a huge gap in Tatau culture. His memory was honoured in a ceremony on this ancient marae by those from all over the world who were influenced by his Tatau practices and philosophies. Paulo's legacy lives on in the work of his family, the Sasu'a dynasty of Tatau artists.
Without him, I would not be here today. I wouldn't be tattooing. He was my teacher and my role model. And that's because he brought these tools back to these islands again.
He was looking for someone to teach within Hawaii, and I was very fortunate that he felt very comfortable with me. And so he taught me the basics, the rudimentaries of using the Samoan ao.
I asked Su'a Suluape if he would teach me to use the ao last year, and after going to Samoa, I wanted to get together with him and do some work, but now that he's gone, I have to come here to see Patalo, yeah, and I've done that and talked to him, and hopefully we will be able to do some work when he comes back to Auckland.
It has to be from us. And I think that's what Paulo was trying to do, teaching the Maoris and the Tahitian and probably the Tongans, Hawaiians, all these Polynesian people who have lost the art of tattooing, lost the form of doing it. And, you know, it's good. And it's a pride to the Samoan people to give it back.
For many, it's not just the tradition of Tatau tools that have been lost, but also the designs particular to different island groups. Today at Tatau conventions, old tools sit side by side with modern ones, and new patterns are re-emerging from the past. Te Tini Pekapo has done his own research into the Cook Islands history of Tatau.
Back in Mangaia, some of the designs in Arapure, the churches, I took some of those designs with me. Also found, I was put onto a book called Arts and Crafts of the Cook Islands by Te Rangihiro. I wrote to the Bishop Museum and got some information back where I could get some of these designs, reading up these books and finding some designs. I managed to get some from that. Realising that there were a lot of patterns carved on drums and staffs, I started to look into the museums and looking at the patterns carefully, finding out where these artefacts came from, and then putting a sort of link. Some patterns were common not only to that island but throughout Polynesia.
And another island with a gap in knowledge of its Tatau history is Tonga.
I've had a lot of research and I've talked to a lot of old people and, you know, old women. Because, you know, surprisingly, the artists back then weren't men. It was women. Because, you know, back then they didn't have papers, and so they used tangatu, which is a tapa, to draw on, and only the women did that. You know, that was the women's work. So the women, you know, just got their designs from how the house was made, you know, lalava, how everything was joined up and how the walls were made. What I want to do out here is I want to be able to revive the generation of lost tradition that the Tongans had back then, and I want to be able to represent my country.
The Polynesian cultural meanings behind getting Tatau can be very different to the social context that people have been tattooed in the Western world. In some islands, there's a continued association with tattooing and the underworld.
I started the odd tattoo in the late 80s, and my aunties and uncles didn't really like it because of my appearance. People had to accept me for, because I had long hair and tattoos, and some people just looked at me and just said, gang, you know?
I think to the old people, it's still considered an evil thing. I guess they're flexible with guys getting it, but it's just not girls.
Changes in Tatau have also been seen in terms of who can get one. The taking on of Tatau by those outside of the culture is something that remains a subject of debate in Pacific communities. A master Māori carver wanted to get a Samoan pe'a before he took up tattooing himself.
We have been negotiating with Vern especially to try and bring about the revival of the tāmoko, and because someone that intends to start the revival of the tāmoko, he has to go through the pain and all that. It's important for anyone that does this sort of thing to go through it first, rather than just go about tapping away there and he doesn't feel how it feels from the other person's view. It's best that Vern gets the pe'a first, and then he'll proceed from there to get the moko.
It's pretty painful. I don't think I'd advise anybody else to go through that. I think myself personally, I actually reached a pain barrier that I've never really had before. I've had broken bones and a lot of other things in the past, but nothing to match that. I think myself personally pushed me over that barrier, and it actually takes you through a bit of a spiritual encounter.
There seemed to be a deep desire between Paul and Vern to forge some links between the two cultures, and Vern being a kaiwhakairo, a carver, and Paul being a tufunga o le Tatau Samoa, they thought that through their skills that they might be able to forge something.
Transformations in Tatau have always reflected the social changes taking place in Polynesian society. The coming of the Papalangi, the sky piercers, had a significant impact on the ancient art form. Over the years, the newly embraced evangelism and colonial agendas suppressed many traditional practices and saw a demise of Tatau in many islands. It was only in Samoa that the practice continued as a significant part of the social order. But there were also those who were more enamoured of island life and its societies.
Aren't they amazing, Fletcher? I never knew there were such people in the world. They're simple and kind, and yet somehow they're royal.
From the first of Cook's voyages to the region, many Palangi sailors, traders and beachcombers who visited or lived in the islands got Tatau as part of what is now an established Western maritime tradition. And echoing the early European fascination with Tatau, many Palangi today are seeking to get it done for different reasons.
We go to Samoa every year because my partner Seal's family is all there. His mum, dad and extended family are there, so we go back there quite regularly. And last year when we went back, his parents asked me if I'd like to get it done, since just about everyone else in the family's been tattooed. All his brothers have got their pe'a, and all their wives and his sister and all the nieces now have got their malo, and so they just thought that, you know, since I had shown an acceptance of the culture, that maybe I'd want to get it done.
Seeing traditional Polynesian Tatau on Palangi bodies is something that is offensive to some and not so to others.
When you mix it with other tattoos and other stuff, then it's not good. As I said, it demeans the whole Samoan culture and also cheapens our Tatau.
With Palangi, I think it's fine, but only in the context that for them it's meant a life-changing decision where they have gotten the Tatau in the context of learning and appreciating and loving Samoan culture and aspect of Samoa.
I personally am quite thrilled that other people find our art forms attractive. I guess in a way we could say that we're revolutionizing the world art of the body.
A lot of Europeans, they don't want our designs, but they want something like it. So it will be something that will look like our tattoos, but you look at it closely, it's quite different.
Another contentious issue is the tatau of those outside of the gender roles historically symbolised by these patterns. One such case was a woman who insisted on the male pe'a design instead of the female malu.
She came to me and asked me, and I said, go home and think it over. And for about 4 weeks, she kept coming back. And then she said to me, okay, this is the last time I come to you. If you don't do it, I'm going to find somebody to do it. Well, I think the male, the men, feel threatened now that a woman can do what they can do. I don't see any harm in that. We should be all equal. I mean, you look at the workplaces, women are doing the man's job better than they can, and they should get equal pay and equal rights. And if this young lady, she was conscious of what she wanted, and I don't really think about much of what people think of me. And then on the other hand, it's part of the history. It's very much part of the history that the ladies had it and not the men.
But many others in the Samoan community, however, don't agree.
So I see that as a violation, and also because of that saying in Samoa that o Samoa umon tofi. For example, male have their own roles to play, females also have their own roles to play.
If he decides that, well, I'll give it to a female, then it's a personal choice. But who knows, it could be the start of the trend to reverse back to what the old song says. Now the song, the Mafuanga Ale Nei Loa, apparently the song said that it was the women who were tattooed and not the men.
And the gender roles defined by tatau continue to be taken on for different reasons.
I wish I'm not a whawhawhingi. I wish I'm a real, man. To be a real Matai who speaks the Samoan launga nicely, and I hate my voice, but I can't change it. But I don't want my voice to, I don't want to force my voice, say, no. So I was thinking, what should I do to let the people know that I respect my culture? It's better to have a tattoo. I'm a whawhawhingi with a tattoo. Tell you all, I respect. So, kaula if a whaikale malu, ule whalo lo u kowhingi, malesime a whaikale malu, longa winga o whaleangalang. Some, they don't really like it. They hate me. They say I'm putting them down, and they say people will blame them for not having hair like me. And don't worry. I'm putting us up, just to let them know I'm the whawhawhingi who represents all the Samoan whawhawhingis.
The patterns of tatau are also the inspiration for many other art forms, where the canvas of the skin is transformed into the visual arts.
To do my art using the Samoan culture, I cannot do it without the tattoo or the tapa, but predominantly it's the tattoo that I use the patterns to tell my story on the canvas rather than on the skin. I think it's another reason too, is because of paying homage to one of the ancient art form of mankind, the tattooing, and also to pay homage to some of our own tattoo artists.
I'm telling your child I got a major dose of funk. I'm sick with the flavor of the thick chocolate stuff, but a pessimistic attitude can get in the way. So
I've got stories from friends who had seen people who would look at the poster on the street because it was on the street, and then they'll be looking at it going, oh yeah, and then they'll see the tattoo because the tattoo doesn't, you have to really look into it, and then all of a sudden there's this tattoo, a tattooed Christ, although and the actual work wasn't meant to be symbolic of Christ. It was just of persecution, you know, the whole sort of colonial approach. And the other thing is that, you know, amongst the Samoan people, that the Tatau survived the colonial oppression. You know, they did attempt to stamp it out, but it's one of the only, as you're saying, it's an icon image that we've kept.
In 1996, a play by the theatre group Pacific Underground also featured Tatau live on stage.
I have heard a couple of comments, you know, a few people having reservations about seeing something so Samoan and so sacred, so personal in a medium like the theatre. For me, it's a celebration, and for me, it lifts this play above a normal play. We're sharing our culture, you know, we're taking it out from the garages in South Auckland or West Auckland, wherever, and we're sharing it, and people can learn like that.
Wild dogs under my skirt. I want to tattoo my legs, not blue or green, but black. I want to sit opposite the tufunga and know he means me pain. I want him to bring out his chisel and his hammer and strike my thighs, the whole circumference of them, like walking right round the world, like paddling across the whole Pacific in a log, knowing that once you've pushed off, loaded the dogs on board, there's no looking back now, bingo. I want my legs like dog's teeth, wild dogs, wild Samoan dogs, the mangy kind that bite strangers. I want my legs like octopus, black octopus that catch rats and eat them. I even want my legs like centipedes, the black ones that sting and swell for weeks. And when it's done, I want the tufunga to sit back and know they're not his. They never were. I want to frighten my lovers. Let them sit across from me and whistle through their teeth.
With my work, I've used the Tatau as a way of kind of defining who I'm not, I suppose, and looking through the experience of my father and his desire to complete his journey as an orator, and by going to have his better done, and that was quite a big move, and you know, I saw the way his kind of posture changed after he'd had it done, and that was cool. So. The work is essentially a work about trying to find a balance between an old culture and a new one. And for a long time I haven't been willing to admit that I reside somewhere in the middle. You know, I'm not born in Samoa, but I'm born here, but I don't feel at home there, and I don't quite feel at home here. And so it's this idea of finally admitting to myself that I'm a product of a kind of a global culture.
Inside the lines is my culture, confined, defined, captured throughout history. Inside the lines is my culture, confined, defined, captured throughout history, displayed for all the world to see, covered and uncovered by the clothes wrapped around me to keep me warm, to keep me strong, to keep me close to home, to keep me connected and reconnected to the past, long gone but still alive, because the master's hands makes the mark survive. Surviving the test of time, surviving the arrival of the missionaries, misplaced visionaries with a pure intent on conversion into a carbon copy, not withstanding, the world can't stop me, That's right, from being me, from being Samoan, from being who I am, the humble man. I'm born into ways of the modern times, fighting the future with words and rhymes, capturing images inside the lines. I'm born into the ways of the modern times, fighting the future with words and rhymes, capturing images inside the lines. Inside the lines, so straight, so perfect, skillfully placed to represent for our lifetime, until the blood stops flowing through veins, no longer hungry, unable to feed an empty stomach, used to taro, kapisi and sapusui. The end is near, the end is near. I hear them say again and again, be brave, it will soon be done. I hear them say again and again, there is no going back once you have begun.